So we are starting 2 Corinthians today. 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 1 to 11. And whenever we start a new book in the Bible, we do recommend the Bible Project. And it's got a really good introduction to 2 Corinthians. I mean, obviously this is Paul's second letter to this group of believers. It's 2 Corinthians. But we know he spent about 2 years in Ephesus in between. And we know that he had a visit in between these two letters, because he describes it in 2 Corinthians 2 verse 1 as a painful visit. He doesn't really want to have to make another painful visit. And that 2-year period for Paul, it was a period of great impact, of fruitfulness, of the kingdom advancing in Asia, in Achaia, in Ephesus. But it was also a period characterized by intense hardship. And Paul gets straight to that hardship as he writes to the Corinthian church from that place in chapter 1. We can read about that here today. Great pressure beyond our ability to endure. And one of the things I love about our Christian faith is that it provides a way of viewing and understanding our own weakness. It provides a really healthy lens through to which to, dare I say, even celebrate our weakness. We know Paul will go on to say that God's strength is made perfect in weakness. For when we are weak, then we discover that God is strong. And I don't really want to make these daily devotions about COVID and about the year of lockdown because people can watch them at any time in the future. But really, I just think this speaks so strongly into the year that we have had, a year that I would certainly say has been beyond me, beyond my ability to endure, beyond my ability to keep moving forward, beyond my natural resources. And what do we discover when God allows us in his grace to step beyond what we can endure? We discover that his strength is more than enough. And we read it here, don't we? That we discover a comfort that comes from the Holy Spirit that is so precious to us, that we learn how to lean into and rely on him. It says in verse 9, this happens so that we might not rely on ourselves, but that we might rely on God, who can even raise the dead. And I wouldn't say for one moment that God sent COVID, but I do think that in allowing COVID, God has allowed us, his people, to experience more of his grace, more of his strength, more of his peace. We can now say with confidence the Lord has sustained us even through a global pandemic. That is how good he is to us. And I love the way that Paul talks about God, our deliverer, here. That God is a God who has delivered us. He's a God who will deliver us, and he is a God who will continue to deliver us. So, you know, if you're watching this at the time it's recorded, we're starting to think about re-emerging from lockdown. Who knows what the future will hold? But we know that whatever we face, this same God who has sustained us and upheld us by his grace over this past year will continue to deliver us. Of course, verse 11 in our reading is a key in all of that. Prayer is the key. And Paul is saying that he was helped in his suffering by their prayers. Prayer makes a difference. It makes a massive difference. And he says, in answer to the prayers of many, so the unified prayers of many make a real difference in helping us to endure. But what I really want to just touch on in the last minute or so is what I would probably describe as a comfort reflex. We want to be people who comfort one another. That word is parakaleo. It's from the Greek verb to call out, and to call out for help, and then to come alongside to support and sustain. And what Paul is saying is that as we receive the comfort of God, we reflex in a way that comforts others. That is so important. As we receive comfort, we reflex with comfort. And so I just want to challenge you to not primarily first and foremost to comfort others, but first and foremost to receive that comfort that you need from God, probably through others, by really taking that word and its original meaning on board and saying, can you come alongside me and help me? I need help in this, to other believers. To speak that comfort, that strength, that practical ministering to one another by serving one another, whether it be for a meal or a practical job or words of encouragement and life, to speak those over one another and to pass it on. As we receive that comfort, to reflex out with comfort for one another. This is how, as a community, we can meet one another's needs. So, who can you receive comfort from, and who can you pass it on to? Have a fantastic day.